So if Nityananda Prabhu had not opened up a marketplace of the holy names there in Godramandvip and flooded all of Bengal, what would have become of us? Would we have received this news? The good tidings of great joy? No, only by Nityananda's potency. Who? He is the servant of Gauranga. You cannot take one of them and not take the other. Krishnadas Kaviraj brother made that mistake. And what was the result? He directly says in 8th chapter, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, my brother fell down. Because he had faith in Gauranga, but not in Nityananda. Imagine that. And he insulted the devotees. Lord Nityananda, Mini Ketana Ramdas. And he became so infuriated that he broke his flute and went away. And after that, Nityananda Prabhu came to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in a dream and instructed him to go to Vrindavan. So Nityananda is the root of the Krishna Bhakti tree. Vaje Nityanandam Vajanatarukandam Niravadhi. He's the root. And Guru, he is the Akanda Guru Tattva. He is the undivided principle of Guru. Undivided. He is the Guru. Baladev. Nityananda Ram, who is the same personality. Nityananda Ram. So, Shraddhavan Jana He. He's calling out. But who is he calling out to? Nityananda Prabhu is calling out. He's calling out to, O ye faithful persons, Shraddhavan Jana. Shraddhavan Jana. O you persons who have Shraddha. I want to let you know that my Prabhu, my Gauranga, has given me an order. He's telling, Nityananda Prabhu is calling out that, oh brothers, Prabhu Agyai, Bhai, oh my brothers, my Prabhu has given me an order, Agyai. And what is that order? Magi e Bhiksha. He has instructed me to do this begging, to beg to all of you. Magi, how does it translate? Yes, beg these alms from you. So on the order of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu is doing this. And then what is the alms that he wants to beg? From every jiva, from every living entity. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Siksha. Chant Krishna's names, always. Chant the names of Krishna. Bolo Krishna. Then Bhajo Krishna, worship Krishna. Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Siksha. Follow the instructions of Krishna. That's Mahaprabhu's movement. That is the essence of Mahaprabhu's movement. These three things. Telling everyone, chant Krishna's names, worship Krishna, and follow his instructions. And then he says, Aparad Shunya Hoy Loho Krishna Nam. Take this name of Krishna, without offenses. Aparad shunya hoy. Shunya means devoid of. So devoid of aparads. You should take the name of Krishna. Loho Krishna Nam. Chant the name of Krishna. You should also have the proper understanding of Krishna when you're chanting Krishna's names. That Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, and Krishna Dhanapran. Krishna is your mother. You would not exist. Krishna is the source. He's the source of the womb of the entire universe. He's the source of all the energy, Shakti, and He's the source of everyone. So, you should understand this relationship. This is called Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan, like we're talking about Sambandha Tattva, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. This is Sambandha. You cannot chant pure name of Krishna without Sambandha Gyan. And that Sambandha will go deeper and deeper and deeper. But at least in the beginning, we have to understand Krishna, He's everything. He's the source of Srimati Radhika. And Radhika is the Supreme Mother. That's why we say Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Because without her grace, we cannot approach, like Prabhupada said in his first recording, without the grace of Mother Hara, we cannot achieve the grace of the Supreme Father Hari. So, Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita. Krishna is our Father. If we don't have some realization of this, then we are simply floating in the waves of illusion of Maya, like all the conditioned souls. But we've reached the shore right now, and Nityananda Prabhu is pulling us onto the shore. Okay?
My boat is caught in a whirlpool.
Yeah, but Nityananda Prabhu can also rescue you from that. He's very strong. He's very powerful. He can rescue any living entity from any condition. If that was not the case, it would have been impossible for this movement, giving this highest conception, knowledge, everything, to the whole world. It would have been impossible without Nityananda.
We just have to have faith. Right?
Yes, we have to develop firm faith. Firm faith. And what is that firm faith? Guru Nishta. Guru Nishta. Without Guru Nishta, nothing can happen in the realm of bhakti. Some sukriti, but not bhakti. Guru Nishta has to be there. So when that Guru Nishta is very strong, then all these things will take place. This is a very short and a very simple song, but Bhakti Vinod Thakur has given exact, essential instructions, which is what he envisioned in his heart that Lord Nityananda is giving, because he was living right there in that place. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is living right there in Godrumadvip. Experiencing it, envisioning everything. These songs are not just written from his mental processes, no. Envisioned everything, like Rupa Goswami, all envisioned within their heart these pastimes. So, and Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. What does Dhana Pran mean? We know what Pran means, right? What does Pran mean?
Life air.
Yes, our Pran, our life force, our very living force. So, Dhana Pran, it means the wealth of our life. Krishna is the very treasure of our life. If we didn't have Krishna, we would be the most poverty-stricken, miserable, degraded jivas if we did not have Krishna. So that relationship is Sambandha Gyan, is necessary. Gurudev always talked like this, that you should chant with Sambandha Gyan. So that Sambandha Gyan can only be chanted if someone has Guru, because Guru makes the relationship with Krishna. Guru connects you with Krishna. So everything is here. Guru Tattva, Krishna Tattva, and Shakti, everything is here. And finally, the last verse, which we spoke on one day, forget which day it was, which some appearance or disappearance day. Just in brief, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving the Sarva Dharma Sar. The Sarva Dharma Sar means the Sar, the essence of all Dharma. And that's not an easy thing to understand. What is the Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam? Guhayam, Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam, from Mahabharata. Maharaj Yudhisthira spoke this verse. What is the pathway? That was one of the trick questions that he had to answer in that story of the Huron.
At the lake?
Yes, at the lake, and to bring his brothers back to life and all that. So one of those questions was, what is the path? Then he said that it is very difficult to ascertain what is the actual path of Dharma. Dharmasya tattva. The tattva of Dharma. Nihitam guhayam. It is extremely guhayam. Guhayam means confidential, hidden, secret. It is not clearly understandable by all. There's only one category of person who understands the Dharmasya tattva nihitam guhayam. What is that? What type of person is that? Mahajano yena gata sapanta. Mahajana. What does the word Mahajan mean? Mahajan.
Great person.
Great personality. This song is saying Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan. He's the supreme Mahajan of all Mahajans. And who knows Dharma? Nihitam Guhaya Mahajano Yena Gata Sapanta. Panta means path. So the path of Dharma is only known to the Mahajans. And in Mahaprabhu's Leela, Gurudev said there are so many Mahajans. All of our 6 Goswamis are the highest Mahajans. So, Krishna samsar koro, chadiyanachar. Make your life completely Krishna samsar. That Krishna is everything. Your life is being led for the sake of serving Krishna. That then your life in this samsara of this material world will have meaning, value, truth. Everything will be there. If Krishna is in the center, if we are acting for Krishna, and Krishna also means Guru. So, Krishner samsara koro, chadi anachar. What does anachar mean? He's saying give up all sinful behavior. Anachar is the opposite of sadachar. Sadachar means saintly behavior, and anachar means sinful behavior. So, give this up. Jagai Madhai were the most sinful of all. Actually, there's more sinful than them. But in Mahaprabhu's Leela, they played that role.
There's some stories that describe them being very heavy-duty Rakshasa. Some it's not so, it sounds like, oh, they weren't that bad. And some it's like...
But you know who they were also? They're Jai Vijay, who came in the form of 3 births of very powerful demons. They're the most powerful. So you can't even compare any demon to Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Even Ravana couldn't compare to Hiranyakashipu. And because Hiranyakashipu was in Satya Yuga, and Ravana came in Treta Yuga. So
you heard that story about
the earring.
that earring?
Yeah, you tell.
No, I want you to tell because I
don't know it in that detail, but...
Well, I was hearing it, somebody was explaining it, that how Padmanabha told the story, but he basically said that that Ravana came and they kind of, I believe, excavated some big...
Right.
Or it was like some mountain and Ravana was standing and it was bigger than him.
Yes.
And then...
And it's made of what?
Gold.
Yes, made of gold. Ravana was always trying to take whatever gold he could find to Lanka. Lanka was the place of gold. right? So there was this big, huge hill, gigantic, and looked like it was made of solid gold. So then?
And I don't remember this part. I don't know if it was like Narada Muni, someone that came and said, this is actually...
No, he tried to lift it.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
That's why I'm also...
He tried to lift this gold, because he's so powerful. And he couldn't lift it. I think it was, I can't remember the personality who also came. Maybe Narada. Maybe Narada. But he was like astounded. Why, I can't lift this?
Who was trying to lift it?
Ravana was trying to lift this big hill of gold, right? And he was going to take it back to Lanka. So he couldn't lift it. And he was just completely dumbfounded. Why can't I lift this? So then, when Narada came, or whoever the saint was, he informed him, oh, Ravana, do you know what this hill is? This is the golden earring of Hiranyakashipu. Ravana couldn't even lift his earring. So what we're saying is that, when Krishna wants to fight, because that's the origin of all these pastimes, he's not going to have a tiny little, tit-for-tat kind of fight. It's going to be completely, devastating. But there has to be someone to fight against. And Jai and Vijay, they could detect in their Lord and Master that he had this desire to fight in Vaikuntha. But they thought amongst themselves that we can fight with him, but we can't really fight. Because to really fight, you have to be completely opposed. Even in the world of professional fighting, you see that they make a big show, right? And this is all for the cameras and for the whole thing, to make it look like they hate each other, they're going to destroy each other and all that. It's all an act. But they fight to the best of their ability. So Jai Vijay thought that we want to fulfill our Lord's desire. Lord Narayan, he didn't express anything. He didn't say, I want to fight. But they knew, they could detect, because the servant understands exactly what are the feelings, internal feelings of the master. You see? So they understood, our Lord, he wants to fight. But we can't really fight him here because we have love for him. So if only we could become averse, completely averse to him, then maybe it would be possible for us to fight with him and fulfill his desire.
It's kind of a funny concept, right? I want to become completely averse, but it's out of so much love and wanting to serve.
And wanting to serve.
But they knew that they would come back out of it.
What?
They knew they would come back out of the spell.
They knew what?
They come out of
what?
Yoga Maya.
There was no this arrangement. How was it arranged? Yoga Maya arranged for them to have this desire. And that desire came from the heart of Lord Narayan. Then Yoga Maya arranged for the 4 Kumaras to come there. And then they did, the 4 Kumaras, great sages. And the Jai and Vijay, being the gatekeepers, they saw these 4 little boys and they stopped them from entering. They put their 2 clubs there and, stopped. And the 4 Kumaras, see, everything happened by the arrangement of Yoga Maya. Ordinarily, they wouldn't stop them. Ordinarily, the 4 Kumaras wouldn't become angry and curse them, right? So this all happened, boom, 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 right? Then all of a sudden, when this happened, as soon as they were cursed to not be in Vaikuntha and come to the material world, become demons. That curse came from the 4 Kumaras. And then suddenly Lord Narayan came there and Lakshmi Devi came there. And then it was decided, okay, you can have 7 births in the material world as devotees, or you can have 3 births as demons. We want 3 births. That way they can return much sooner.
Why do we get 4 sometimes?
That's what I was talking about.
Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jai Vijay, Jagai Madhai, that's their 4th birth.
That's what I was saying, where they knew they would come back out of it. It would have only 3 verses as a demon and then come back out. I bet because they were going to be going under the spell of Maya.
Yeah, they knew initially, but not when they were desiring to become a verse. They didn't know. They just wanted to fulfill, they wanted to do that seva, you know. So, how do we get on this topic? How powerful the demons are, and how powerful Lord Nityananda is. Right? But Nityananda, he can rescue the most fallen. That's his position. And that's why Nityananda Prabhu, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj said, that's why our Srila Prabhupada was empowered by Nityananda Shakti. It is Nityananda Shakti specifically told Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he's the authority. So all that's going on by the mercy of Nityananda, even the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, how did they manifest in the Chaitanya Bhagavat? Oh, because Vrindavan Das Thakur is the disciple of Lord Nityananda. How did they manifest in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Because Nityananda Prabhu empowered Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and gave him the blessing, go to Vrindavan, there you will achieve all things, when he defended Nityananda's devotee, you see. So he's the root. Nityananda is always the root. That's why Bhaje Nityanandam Vajana Tarukandam Niravati. He is the Vajana Tarukandam. That means he is the transcendental source, the root cause of Krishna Bhajana, of bhakti to Krishna. Root of the bhakti tree. So, Jive Dvaya, Krishna Nam, Sarvadharmasai. Be merciful to jivas. Devotees have a responsibility for the jivas. Because we've been rescued, we have a responsibility to rescue others. And when Prabhupada came, that was one of the unique features of the beginning stages of the Hare Krishna movement, that Srila Prabhupada inspired that by his own example within the hearts of the early disciples, and they became empowered by him. And without that, there would be no Hare Krishna movement. This movement would have not happened. But Srila Prabhupada was so potent with the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, spilling out over all the devotees that were in his kirtans and everything. Their hearts began to take hold of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. And so that was the theme. Like when I joined in 1970, that's all we did. We went out in the public all day long, chanting, dancing, distributing books, right? Had a Sunday feast on Sunday, all the public came, you know. Our whole life was that, for years and years. Yes, right, Antagati? Yes. He also went preaching in far-off lands, on the tops of mountains, in Nepal, Kathmandu.
In Alabama.
Yeah, with a banjo on my knee. So, okay, Hare Krishna, Sarva Dharma Sar. We're going to discuss Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, we have a choice. Yeah, we can have a choice. Just to continue today with where we left off in the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, or I can continue with what I was reading the other day of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj's commentary on the 8th shloka of Sikshastakam. There's more to come in that. Very essential. All right, so we'll discuss
that. Is there not a tradition to honor Raghunandana?
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow?
I looked on the calendar.
Oh.
It's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pandram Mangayati Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarani Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavajannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Nama. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sat Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're continuing with Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj's commentary on informal commentary, not that he wrote it, but he spoke it from his heart, his realizations of Sikshastakam in the book, the Golden Volcano of Divine Love. So what we were reading the other day, just to recap, verses that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was quoting, that were spoken first verse by Krishna Gurudev. This was Uddhava, associated with and witnessed the unparalleled praying of the Braja Gopis, and especially what he these two verses are used by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to prove the exalted position of the Gopis. Now, Uddhava is called Prem Atur Bhakta. You know about the 5 levels of bhaktas Gurudev used to tell about? This is from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Srila Sanatana Goswami. 5 levels of bhaktas. You remember? Yes? You never heard. Because there's a gradation. This is the word Srila Sridhar Maharaj liked to use a lot. He says, the whole creation of Krishna, there's a gradation. It's not all one. There's so many different levels. So many different qualifications. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are specifically 5 levels pointed out. There's more than 5, but 5 levels pointed out by Srila Sanatana Goswami. And so it begins with the Jnani Bhakta. Who is the Jnani Bhakta? Prahlad Maharaj. Because Prahlad Maharaj knows. He's also exhibiting Shantaras for Bhagavan, Sri Nrsingadev. So then above the Jnani Bhakta, then comes the Shuddha Bhakta. No, Dhruva is not in this list of 5. Dhruva is below Ambarish Maharaj.
Because Dhruva had material
the Sanskrit term. Sakam Bhakta. Sakam Bhakta. That means with some desire. Sakam, with some material desire. He was approaching. And then on the first level is the Jnani Bhakta, Prahlad Maharaj. Some devotees, I remember, tried to, like ISKCON devotees, and so they heard Gurudev saying this. They said, how can he be? He's a pure devotee. Yes, he's a pure devotee. But the point is that he has knowledge. He has Aishwarya for the Lord. He has this knowledge. But he is the example of the pure devotee, that unless someone follows Prahlad Maharaj, they can never become a pure devotee. This is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur lectured many, many times on the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. So there is that level. Then there is the Shuddha Bhakta, the level exhibited by Maharaj Ambarish. So Maharaj Ambarish was actually worshipping Krishna. Not only that, but his kingdom was the current place called Mathura. That was the kingdom of Maharaj Ambarish when he was on the earth. Did you know that? Yes. Yes. And Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunana Varnane. There's two verses describing how Maharaj Ambarish fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor. He fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. And he utilized all of his senses. That those two verses are describing how he used his feet, how he used his hands, everything. And even ultimately his desires. Everything for Krishna. So he's pure, Shuddha Bhakta. And then the test came of him following the Ekadasi fast, as we hear, this is the 8th canto, right? Maharaj Ambarish. Yeah. And then the whole story with Durvasa Rishi and all of that. But this was only two. Durvasa Rishi is actually a very exalted Vaishnava, of a Brahma Jnani. And he's always enhancing the pastimes of the Lord, you know. So in this case, he was doing this external activity of opposing and trying to destroy even Maharaj. But in the end, he glorified Ambarish Maharaj. Huh?
Broadcast the glories of the Vaishnava.
Yes. Yes, so then, on the next level, Shuddha Bhakta, Prema Parabhakta, the Pandavas. They have this most exalted bhakti for Krishna, the Pandavas, and very intimate, even family members, blood relations, so-called. Uddhava is called a Prem Atura Bhakta. He's really absorbed. 24 hours in praying. His praying is the highest amongst all of the Yadu dynasty. All the personalities in Dwarka, Mathura Vasis. His praying. Who said this? Krishna himself. We come to this verse. Na tata me priyatama, where Krishna is telling to Uddhava that, O Uddhava, neither Lord Brahma, Atma Yoni, na Shankaraha, Atma Yoni means Brahma, Shankar means Shiva. He said, there is no one as Priyatama. You are the top most dear to me. Not even Brahma nor Shiva. Then he says, Nacha Sankarshano. Sankarshan is referring to Baladev in Dwarka. Baladev is Sankarshan. Na cha sankarshano, na shrir. Shrir means Shri. Lakshmi. Krishna is telling Uddhava, you are more dear to me even than Lakshmi. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's mentioned these two verses together in a number of places in his darshans. Even there was he told the history when he was preaching in South India, and some person was challenging him, and he proved the exalted position of the gopis by quoting these two verses. So now comes the second verse. Uddhava is told to be, by Krishna himself, most dear. But what does Uddhava say? What is Uddhava's desire and aspiration? Uddhava says, Asam aho. When did he say this? No, when he's in Braj and he has now been with the gopis. We go to that place in Braj where Uddhava spoke these words. You know, that place is called Uddhav Kyari. You remember going there? The first time, the same first time when I went there, 1994. And we were actually going, this is in Nandagaon. Nandagaon Hill is there. You can see the Nandagaon Hill, right? Where Nanda Maharaj had his palace. And so when we went there the first time in 1994, you were just like 7 years old then, right? Yeah, and so none of us really knew where we were going. We were just going on the parikrama. They were not telling us now. They just said, now we're going to Nandagaon, but there's so many places in Nandagaon. So the first time we went there with Gurudev, we didn't know even where we're going. So when we went to this Uddhav Kyari, at that time, Uddhav Kyari was kind of like a thick foresty area with thorny trees. So there was some kind of little pathway that was leading through that area. And we were kind of having to duck down and go underneath these branches, and then we came to this area, and then Gurudev sat down, and the Vaishnava sat down. Gurudev's in a very serious mood, very deep. He asked our Shubhananda Brahmachari, who later became Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tirtha Maharaj, to speak. And he stood up there and began to speak, and weeping, and so many devotees were weeping, and Gurudev was like very grave, very grave. So later on we understood where we were. Someone spoke in English and explained, this is Uddhav Kyari.
It's kind of like a grape grove, almost.
Not grapes.
Not grapes, but it looks like kind of like a grove.
Yeah, like smaller trees.
Yeah.
But now it's not like that. You haven't seen it because it was cleared away by Gurudev. Gurudev excavated that area. There was a pond that he excavated there. He donated money for developing that place. So now you can drive directly there. There's a road that goes there. But at that time, it was in the thick of this thorny tree forest. So that very place, Uddhav Kyari, it's named. So this is the very place where Uddhava witnessed what? Srimati Radharani, when she was speaking to the bumblebee. This is called the Brahmara Gita. Brahmara means bumblebee. And Gita means song. So this is the highest of the 5 songs of the gopis, directly coming from the lotus mouth of Srimati Radharani. And 10 different verses describing 10 different levels of completely madness, different types of talk. There's names for each one of these moods. Jalpa, Prati Jalpa, like this. So all these different levels of ecstasy, ecstatic moods of separation, Srimati Radhika is speaking to the bumblebee. So after that, and when Uddhava spent 2 months there in Braj, he stayed for 2 whole months with the Braj gopis. And in those 2 months, at that time, Uddhava felt himself to be like a tiny little person who is standing next to a tall mountain, at the base of the mountain and looking up. This is how Gurudev gave this example. Like I have a hat on. So when you're looking up and you're leaning back so far looking at this grand mountain and your hat falls off. Gurudev described like this, that Uddhava, who is in Dwarka, and he's told by Krishna he's the most dear, when he came in contact with the Braja Gopis and Shrimati Radhika's prem, this is how he felt. This mountain and mine is nothing. That's what he realized at that time. He realized it, and he spoke this verse, and this verse is the praman. This is the evidence used by our acharyas to show how great are the gopis. So, what did Uddhava pray for in this verse? There's a number of verses in that chapter of the 10th canto where he is describing his impressions of the gopis. But this verse in particular is where he makes a direct prayer. What does he pray for? He says, Asamaho Charana Renu Jashamaham Shyam Vrindavane Kimapi Gulma Lato Shadhinam Ya Dustyajam Swajanam Arya Patam Chahitva Bejur Mukunda Padavim Shrutibir Vimrigyam. This is the translation by Srila Maharaj. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, their sons, and other family members who are very difficult to renounce. And they have sacrificed even their religious principles to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, which are sought after even by the Vedas. Then he prays, aho, the word aho means oh, grant me the fortune to be born as a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so that I may take the dust of those great souls upon my head. This is the prayer of Uddhava. So, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is continuing in his discussion here about the 8th verse of the Sikshastakam, which is spoken by Srimati Radharani. Ashlashyava padaratam panashtumam. So here, now, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is explaining the gradation of theism. The gradation, how I told before, he likes to use this term, gradation. So he's saying that the gradation of theism can be traced from Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, to Krishna's intimate friend Uddhava in Dwarka. And Uddhava takes us directly to Vrindavan to reveal the highest devotion, eliminating various prospects in our progressive march towards divinity. We have to march on, and the way is that of surrender, of loving devotion, not mere formal devotion. Now he quotes the verse which is written by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita, And this verse is the 9th shloka. Vaikuntaj janito vara madhupuri tatrapi rasotsavad vrindaranya vidarapani ramanat tatrapi govardhana radha kunda mihapi gokulapate premamrita plavanat kuryad asya virajato giritate sevam viveki nakha. Superior to the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha. Now he's talking the gradation. Here's the gradation. Vaikuntaj janito vara. Superior to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntaj janito vara. Madhupuri. Superior to the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha is Mathura. Here it's called Madhupuri, where Sri Krishna first appears. Superior to Mathura, Madhupuri tatrapi rasotsavat vrindaranyam. Oh, superior to that place of Mathura, where Sri Krishna first appears, is Vrindavan, the forest of Vrindavan, where Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance. Ras Utsavat. Ras Utsava means the festival of the rasa dance. So Vaikuntha, higher than that, Mathura, higher than that, what? The forest of Vrindavan. Why? There Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance. And then, Vrindaranyam Udarapani Ramanat Tatrapi Govardhana. Better still is Govardhan Hill, which was the site of even more confidential pastimes of love. Then he says, Radha Kundam Ihapi Gokulapate Premamrita Plavanat. Radha Kundam is the best of all. And this Radha Kunda is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill, and it holds the supreme position because there, Gokulapate Premamrita Plavanat, it is overflooded with the nectar of what? Premamrita, the highest kind of divine love. It is overflooded with that in Radhakunda. So now Rupa Goswami asks the question, who is there? What person is there that is acquainted with the science of devotion who will not aspire for the divine service of Srimati Radharani at Radhakunda? Here, he says, Kuryad asya virajato giritate sevam viveki na ka. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gaura Govardhari Giri Shri Shri Radha Govind Ji Ki Jai. So he's asking the question, Rupa Goswami. And by the way, where did Rupa Goswami get this from? Do you know where the Upadeshamrita came from?
Mahaprabhu?
Yeah, Mahaprabhu. In which place? Under what circumstances? No. No. In Jagannath Puri. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who also gave his commentary, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Radharaman Das. Also, there are 3 commentaries in Gurudev's small Upadeshamrita book. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, at the end of the last verse, the 11th shloka, he tells the story of where did these instructions come from that were written down by Rupa Goswami. So he explains there that one time In Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, towards the end of his manifest pastimes, when he was always overwhelmed, completely in a maddened state, and sometimes internal, sometimes fainting, and then so many manifestations, ecstatic manifestations of his body. And so he was there on the shore of the ocean, and he became overwhelmed by seeing the bluish waves and feeling the separation mood of Srimati Radhika that reminded him at that time of the Yamuna. So Mahaprabhu fainted, and then the devotees revived him with kirtan, and they sat around him, and Rupa Goswami was there in that small group. And then Mahaprabhu sat up and he began to speak. And the instructions that he spoke at that time were heard and committed to memory by Srila Rupa Goswami. And therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami composed these 11 verses telling what Mahaprabhu spoke. The 11 verses of Upadeshamrita. So this is a very, very important book. Even Gurudev would say that Srila Rupa Goswami has given the entire process which has to be followed. If anyone wants to attain this ultimate goal of Radha Dasyam on the banks of Radha Kunda in Braj Mandala, next to Giriraj Govardhan, this is the aspiration in the heart of all of our Rupanuga Acharyas. So if anyone wants to attain this, they have to follow these 11 verses of the Upadeshamrita. So this is a lifetime practice. We should learn, we should commit to memory these shlokas, and we should remind ourselves, because they tell what is the process. So this verse here is the 9th verse. In the last 9th, 10th, and 11th verses, Srila Rupa Goswami is giving the gradation. And in this verse, he's giving the gradation of the transcendental places, these dhammas, right? Vaikuntha, then Mathura, then Vrindavan, then Govardhan, and finally Radhakunda. In the 3 last verses of Upadeshamrita, Radhakunda is mentioned in each verse. So he's asking the question that if someone is actually intelligent, the word here is viveki. Viveki means someone who has sharp intelligence and they can discriminate. They can do vivek. They can discriminate. It's like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote that little book, Bhakti Tattva Viveka, the word vivek. That means deliberation on the tattva of bhakti. To vivek, to deliberate. So, here, Rupa Goswami is using the word viveki na ka. That means who? Kaha means who. Who is there that is a viveki, that is truly has sharp intelligence and can discriminate and discern things very well? Who is there who will not go there and aspire to be at the banks of Radhakund and serve Srimati Radhika, where Premamrita Plavanat, the nectar of Krishna Prem, is overflowing there? Who is there? That is the question. Who is actually intelligent? Who will not be able to discern that this is? That's why he's writing this verse. That's why Mahaprabhu spoke this. And that's why we know that Radha Kunda is the highest place. When we would go to Govardhan every year with Gurudev, and we would stay there at Govardhan even before Gurudev's temple was built. We were staying at another Dharmashala across from the Govardhan hill. And then Gurudev was telling there, he said, in all of our Braj Mandala, because this comes more towards the last part of the month of Kartik. So we had already gone to various other places, beginning in Vrindavan and then going to other forests and visiting the Leela Sthalis. So when we came there to Govardhan, then Gurudev said, he said, now we have come to the ultimately highest place in all of Braj Mandala. And then he asked the question that if this is the highest place, then why did we go to so many other places? Why don't we just go to the highest place? Do you remember his answer? I'm sure you don't remember, you were just little then. He says, because by visiting all the other 12 forests of Braj and hearing all the pastimes that took place everywhere during Krishna's entire Braj Leelas, this nourishes the conception of prayojan, of the ultimate attainment. This nourishes that. So some persons, they want to just simply go, so many persons who are not vivekis, they think, oh, I will go to Radha Kund and I will only stay there. But are you qualified to go there? Are you qualified? Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj told that even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur told about Radha Kunda. He says, I want to have a bhajan kutir at Govardhan. Because my gurus, they are staying there on the banks of Radha Kunda. And from Govardhan, some distance away, I will come there and serve their lotus feet, and then I will return there. True worship. But some persons come there and they do all debauch activities and they have no qualification for being there. So that aspiration we have to develop by hearing all the pastimes of Krishna, by hearing the commentaries of our Vraj Rasik Mahabhagavat Vaishnavacharyas, Rupanuga Acharyas. Now the next section here is titled The Heart of Krishna. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying, we must place our faith in these subtle things. Only through faith of a finer order can we be led to that highest order. The highest conception is in the heart of Krishna. The very highest conception is in the heart of Krishna. And we have to enter into the heart of Krishna, not any other place. So, this is quite a topic. How to enter the heart of Krishna? That the highest conception is there in the heart of Krishna, and we have to enter into the heart of Krishna, not any other place. Now he explains. Although Krishna's conjugal pastimes with the gopis, his Madhurya Leelas, they are supreme. His Madhurya Leelas, his conjugal pastimes with the gopis are supreme. And although they are supreme, they cannot stand alone. What does that mean? There are many other things which are present in his pastimes. Krishna's pastimes with his friends and his parents, they are essential in supporting his pastimes of amorous love.
Dynamic matrix.
Conjugal love is, of course, the main thing. It is the main thing. It is the Adi Ras. But still, it is dependent on the other paraphernalia of Krishna's pastimes. There must be Krishna's family and friends and all the different groups of servitors. Even the environment of Vrindavan itself also has its valuable part to play. And what is Vrindavan? The sands of the river Yamuna, the jungle, the birds, peacocks and deer, the cows, cowboys, he calls them cowboys, and the caves of Govardhan Hill, the motherly relatives, everything is there. And it is well designed and most suitable for the pastimes of Sri Krishna. I love the way Srila Srila speaks. Vrindavan is necessary for the pastimes of Radha and Govinda. When Radharani meets Krishna in Kurukshetra, her mind runs to Vrindavan. She thinks, Krishna's here, and I am also here. But her mind runs to Vrindavan. In Kurukshetra, Srimati Radharani is hankering for the environment of Vrindavan. She wants to have Sri Krishna's company there. All of Krishna's paraphernalia and divine associates, they have their own unique value. I'm reading that again. All of Krishna's paraphernalia and all of his divine associates, they have their own unique value and they cannot be eliminated. Radha Govinda cannot be taken away from Vrindavan any more than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be taken away from Navadvip. The whole thing is a system. One part cannot be snatched away from the other parts. All the devotees have a necessary part to play in order to create the harmony of Krishna's pastimes. Otherwise, it would not be living. It would be dead, artificial, useless. It cannot even be imagined. So Krishna Lila is an organic whole. So when we use the word organic, we should apply it to this in the ultimate sense. It is an organic whole. There are so many parts. But you cannot remove those parts. It's an organic whole. Now, Srimati Radharani says, where is she saying this? At Kurukshetra, when she meets Krishna at Kurukshetra. Because this is the commentary on the 8th verse of Sikshastakam. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj is expressing that this 8th verse is spoken in Kurukshetra. That mood came out from Srimati Radharani's heart there in Kurukshetra. After, he said, nearly 100 years of separation. So Srimati Radharani says, my mind is running straight towards Vrindavan. I have the main object of pleasure, Krishna himself. But it is useless without the favorable paraphernalia of Vrindavan. Very important statement here. Why is she saying that I have the main object of pleasure, Krishna himself? Because he's right there, in front of her, in Kurukshetra. And she's saying, I'm the same Radharani, you're the same Krishna. But this is not Vrindavan. All of this is useless without the favorable paraphernalia of Vrindavan. So Radharani's pain of separation rises to the highest point in Kurukshetra, where she has attained the object of her union after a long separation. There, Krishna is very close. But without being surrounded by the favorable paraphernalia of Vrindavan, she cannot have the real advantage of union. In this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained the mood of Srimati Radharani in Kurukshetra. Now, there's something very wonderful now we're going to hear about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and what they have expressed about the mood of Kurukshetra. This section is titled A Revolutionary Guru. This section. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once revealed the importance of Kurukshetra in a unique way. The words of our Guru Maharaj were mostly very revolutionary. When I was a beginner, with only 2 years or so in the Gaudiya Math, I was in charge of the Kurukshetra temple. And once I came to the Calcutta headquarters at the hired house in Ultadanga for the yearly preaching festival. After the festival, I was to return to Kurukshetra. Srila Prabhupada was thinking of opening a theistic exhibition in Kurukshetra showing with dioramas how Krishna and his friends came there from Dwarka and the gopis came there from Vrindavan. We heard this whole description the other day. Was it him or was it Bhakti Hridaya Bhan Maharaj?
That's where he, Srila Madhusudana, came and saw that, and then he heard about it, and he was...
Yes, but the person who made it was Bhakti Hridaya Bhan Maharaj. Right. So Srila Prabhupada was thinking about doing this. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that during the solar eclipse, they came to bathe in Brahmakunda, which is a sacred lake in Kurukshetra. And Srila Prabhupada wanted to show that pastime with a diorama. And so the exhibition was arranged. He ordered handbills to be printed, and 20,000 circulated in the area, inviting people to come for the exhibition. Now, listen to this. In this connection, he told us, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told us, you all know that only the bogus, hollow people and men of shallow thinking, they like Vrindavan. Srila Sridhar said, I was very much perplexed to hear this. I had been told that Vrindavan is the highest place of spiritual perfection. I had heard that one who has not mastered his senses cannot enter Vrindavan. Only the liberated souls can enter Vrindavan and have the opportunity of discussing Krishna Lila. Vrindavan is for the liberated souls. Those who are not liberated from the demands of their senses may live in Navadvip, but the liberated souls may live in Vrindavan. Now, Prabhupada was saying that the shallow thinkers appreciate Vrindavan, but a man of real bhajan, real divine aspiration, will aspire to live in Kurukshetra. Well, let me ask you, have any of you heard this before? Or you're hearing this for the first time? You heard this before? No, none of you heard this before. Well, that means you're not followers of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. All right. So, now, hearing this, when I heard these words from the lips of Srila Prabhupada, I felt as if I had fallen from the top of a tree. What is this? I thought. I am a very acute listener, so I was very keen to catch the meaning of his words. And the next thought he gave us was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after visiting many different places of pilgrimage, he remarked, I would like to spend the last days of my life in Kurukshetra. I shall construct a cottage near Brahmakunda and pass the rest of my life there. Kurukshetra is the real place of bhajan. So now Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, why? Why is Kurukshetra the real place of bhajan in this context? Why? Service is more valuable. Service is more valuable according to the intensity of its necessity. Understand this point? Service is considered to be more valuable when the necessity for that service is the most intense. Then he says here, he gives an example. Shrewd merchants, they seek a market in wartime, because in that dangerous position, in wartime, the shrewd merchants are looking, how can I take advantage? Right? If a person is a shrewd merchant, they're always going to be thinking, how can I make profit from this current situation? Right? So shrewd merchants, they seek a market in wartime. We see that's going on, okay, all the time. So because, why? Why did they seek a market in wartime? Because in that dangerous position, money is spent like water, without any care for its value, right? Trillions. They can earn money. These shrewd merchants can earn money if a war comes. In the same way, when Srimati Radharani's, listen to this now, make this firmly fixed in your consciousness so you can understand the purport of all these words. Focus on this. Take it deep in your heart so you can understand this. In the same way as these shrewd merchants, when Srimati Radharani's necessity, when her necessity reaches its zenith, service to her becomes extremely valuable. According to its necessity, service is valued. And in Kurukshetra, Srimati Radharani is in the highest necessity because Krishna is so close. But their Vrindavan Leela is impossible. He gives another example. In a football game, if the ball, this is talking about soccer, what we call soccer. If the ball is just inches from the goal, but again it comes back, it is considered a great loss. In the same way, after a long separation, Krishna is there in Kurukshetra. So the hankering for union felt by his devotees, it must come to its greatest point. But because he is in the role of a king, they cannot meet intimately. The circumstances do not allow the Vrindavan Leela to take place. So at that time, Srimati Radharani needs the highest service from her group, the Sakhis. She needs this.
What service is that?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that in that situation, a drop of service will draw the greatest amount of praying, divine love. In the pastimes of Radha Govinda, there are two aspects. Sambhog, divine union, and Vipralamba, divine separation. When Radha and Krishna are very near to each other, but they can't meet intimately, service at that time can draw the greatest gain for the servitors. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I shall construct a hut on the banks of Brahmakunda in Kurukshetra and contemplate rendering service to the divine couple. If I can achieve that standard, where the prospect of service is so high, then there is no possibility of returning to this mundane plane at any time. So now, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is now quoting the verse that was written by Rupa Goswami in Jagannath Puri when he witnessed Mahaprabhu chanting another verse. We went through all of this when we were discussing the Ratha Yatra Leela and how Mahaprabhu was singing apparently mundane poetical song of a woman who was remembering in her youth how she met her lover, who became later her husband, and she's remembering the mood that she felt at that time, okay? And she's describing, oh, we met together on the banks of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree, and everything was so conducive and beautiful. And at that time, Yak Komara Hara, you stole my heart. You stole my heart in my youth at that time. Mahaprabhu was singing this poetry in the Ratha Yatra festival as he was dancing and seeing Jagannath. And who is he seeing? And who is he? He's Radha. When Mahaprabhu was dancing in Ratha Yatra, he's Radha. He's completely in the mood of Srimati Radhika, feeling her prem as she felt at Kurukshetra when she saw Krishna. So when he spoke this verse, Rupa Goswami was there. No one could understand why he was speaking this verse. No one could understand. Only Swarup Damodar Goswami could understand. But Rupa was there and he understood. And later when he went to his hut where he stayed, he wrote this verse. And this verse, when Mahaprabhu saw this verse, he said, how could you have known and understood my heart? He gave him a love tap on his cheek. How could you have gone and penetrated into my heart and understood my heart? So, this is the verse. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is now reciting this verse that Srimati Radhika spoke at Kurukshetra when she arrived in Kurukshetra. Priya soyam Krishna sahachari Kurukshetra militas tataham sa radha tad idam ubhayo sangama sukam tatapyantah kelan madhura murali panchamajushe mano me kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihayati. Oh, my dear friend, who sang this? Radharani, meeting Krishna at Kurukshetra. She's saying, oh, my dear friend, now I am at last reunited with my most beloved Krishna in Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and he is the same Krishna. And we are enjoying our meeting, but still, I wish to return to the banks of the Kalindi, Yamuna, where I could hear the sweet melody of his flute, sounding the fifth note beneath the trees of the Vrindavan forest. So wherever Radharani and Krishna are, wherever they are, Vrindavan is necessary. Vrindavan is necessary. And Vrindavan means the favorable paraphernalia. In this way, Vrindavan is unique. When Krishna met the inhabitants of Vrindavan in Kurukshetra, he first came to Nanda and Yashoda's camp, because all the Brajvasis came there on their bullock carts. And when they arrived, Krishna is meeting them. First of all, he came to Nanda and Yashoda's camp after their long separation to show parental respect to them. In the midst of their great disappointment, they felt, oh, our boy has come to see us at last. It was as if life had returned to the dead. After some courtesy was shown to them, then Krishna made arrangements to meet privately with the gopis. And suddenly he appeared in their camp, because there were many camps and many tents there in Kurukshetra. There were lakhs of people there. So now Krishna appeared in their camp. Externally, Krishna was the leader of so many kings in India. And the gopis had come from some unknown quarter where they lived in the jungle in the society of milkmen, gopas. Huh? So externally, they had no position. I mean, there's kings coming from all over India, and Krishna is the leader of them. And these cowherd people are coming. So externally, they had no real position. They had come from some unknown quarter where they lived in the jungle in the society of milkmen. So externally they had no position. And Krishna held the highest position in the political and the royal society. He was the central figure, like the eyeball in every eye. And they were in a helpless, these cowherd Brajvasis, they were in a helpless, poor and neglected condition. And the gopis pleaded with Krishna. They said to Krishna, Ahushchate nalinanava padara vindam Yogeshwara hridi vichintya magada bodhai Samsara kupa patitotaranavalam Geham jusham apilanas yudiyat sadanaha. The group of the gopis told Krishna when he appeared to them in their camp. They said, O you who have a lotus navel, we know that the great master yogis who have nothing to do with this mundane world, they try to meditate upon your holy lotus feet. Their interest is in higher realization in the conscious world. They are said to center their highest attention on your lotus feet. And those who are busy elevating their life in this world of exploitation, they're also busy worshiping your lotus feet to escape the entanglement of action and reaction. The center of interest for these elevationists, karmis, and the salvationists, jnanis and yogis, the center of interest for them is your lotus feet. So the gopis are telling this to Krishna. And what are we? Then the gopis say, what are we? We are simple people from the country with cows as our wealth. We are animal traders who live in the country, trade in the cow business, and sell curd and milk on the outskirts of society. We are neither scientific exploiters, karmis, nor are we the kind of exploiters who do research in the world of consciousness. We only know family life. We have no other qualifications. We are busy with our family life in the lower section of society. But in our audacity, we pray that if at any time you would kindly condescend to extend your lotus feet to our negligible hearts, we would think ourselves blessed. We are busy in our family matters. We do not know scriptural life or the methods of the Salvationists. We know nothing of yoga, Gyan, Vedanta, or the Vedas. Our ultimate concern is neither with scriptures or moral standards. We hold a negligible position in society, and simply we pray that in the midst of our family life, we may remember your holy lotus feet. Please grant this to us. We can't expect more from you. That was their petition to Krishna. And then Krishna replied to them, saying the following verse. Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yad asin mat sneho bhavatina mad apanaha. Krishna said, yes, I know. People want devotion to me to achieve eternal life, to cross the limit of mortality, and to have eternal life. They come to me and they worship me. For these reasons they want my service. But fortunately for you, O gopis, you have some natural affection towards me. And because of that, it will ultimately bring you to me. Now that is the formal or the superficial meaning of what was spoken by Krishna and the gopis. But the great preceptors in our line have squeezed out another meaning from these prayers. They are conscious of the real private relationship between the two parties. So they have drawn out another meaning based on the divine sentiment between the lover and beloved. When the gopis prayed to Sri Krishna at Kurukshetra, their real meaning was this. Oh, we remember that one day you sent Uddhava to console us. Because, Uddhava was carrying a message from Krishna to the gopis. This is just after Krishna left Vrindavan and he came to Mathura, and now he's not coming back. So that's when he sent Uddhava with a message to console the gopis and to console the Brijvasis. So now the gopis, this is the internal meaning of what they spoke to Krishna. Their real meaning was this. Oh, we remember that one day you sent Uddhava to console us. He recited many scriptural references about how the whole world is mortal, and how it is nothing, and how we shall all have to die. Affection has no great value. Attachment must be cut out. He said that we must try to liberate ourselves from any attraction for the environment and attain salvation. You, Krishna, you wanted to tell all these apparently sweet things to us through Uddhava. Now, you yourself are showing us the same path. You say that you are great and that everyone should try for their highest interest to think of you. Oh, this explanation is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The gopis tell to Krishna. This is, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying that what the gopis are telling, it's all written there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the gopis are saying to Krishna, do you think we are yogis? who will be satisfied with abstract meditation on you? Can we be satisfied by imagination? We are not a party to that. Neither are we karmis, fruitive workers, who are incurring a great debt from nature, who come to your door to get relief, praying, "Oh God, please relieve us from all our previous sins." We do not belong to either of these two sections. What are we? We want to live with you. We want to live with you as your family. We are interested neither in abstract thinking nor in using you to clear off the faults of karma, to nullify our sinful activities. We don't want to use you for any other purpose. We want to have a direct family life with you. Don't you know that? And still you send messages through Uddhava, and now you tell us this? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? This is their inner meaning. This is the inner meaning. Now comes Krishna's inner answer. Krishna's answer also has an inner aspect. He replies to the gopis, "You know, everyone wants me. Through devotion, they want me to help them attain the highest position in the world of eternal benefit. If they have a connection with me, they consider themselves fortunate. But on the other hand, I consider myself fortunate because I have come in touch with the valuable affection that I found in your hearts." The gopis read the inner meaning in that way. And when Radharani could see into the inner meaning of Krishna's reply, she became satisfied. She thought, wherever he may be in the physical sense, at heart he is mine alone. She composed her troubles within, and she returned to Vrindavan thinking, he cannot but come to join our party again very soon. So in the Padyavali is the inner meaning of this verse. When Krishna came to the camp of gopis in Kurukshetra, he suddenly found Srimati Radharani, and he stooped down as if to touch her feet. And Radharani began backing away, saying, "What are you doing? You are trying to touch my feet?" She shuddered. "You have done nothing wrong. You are my master. You are at liberty to do whatever you want. I am your maidservant, and I should try with every nerve to satisfy you. You have committed no crime. I am the criminal." How? How am I the criminal? I still drag on my body and life. This is my crime. I could not die from your separation. Still, I show my face to the public. I am not worth your divine affection. The whole burden of breaking the law of love is on my head. In this way, Srimati Radharani spoke, and in a similar verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radharani, he said, "Na prema gandosti darapi me haro." I have not even a bit of divine love for Krishna within me. Not even a scent of love for Krishna is to be traced within me. You may ask, well then why are you shedding tears profusely, uninterruptedly, day and night? You are always shedding tears for Krishna. How do you explain this? Oh, you don't know? I only do this to make a show. and to deceive the people in general into thinking that I have divine love for Krishna. In this way, I want to become famous as a great devotee of Krishna, but I am a hypocrite. Why do I say so? The positive proof is this: I still live. I could not die. If I had any real love for Krishna, I would have died from his separation. That is the positive proof that I have no trace of Krishna praying within me. So Krishna praying is so high and attractive that once coming in contact with it, no one can maintain his life without it. It is so high, so beautiful, so enchanting. It is heart-swallowing. It is impossible even to conceive of it. Divine love of such a high degree is known as prema. That divine love for Krishna is not to be traced in this mundane world. If by chance someone had any experience of that high and that vital kind of devotion, then by any separation from that, he would die instantly. It is so beautiful and magnanimous. We are out to search only for that divine love in this world. And Srimad Mahaprabhu came to distribute that to the world for our sake. I have heard that a group of people in South America committed collective suicide because they felt that their faithful way of life was going to be destroyed by the present civilization that was in the 70s. Forget the name.
Jonestown.
Yeah. So they could not tolerate that, but rather they thought, let us take poison and leave this world behind. Then we can live safely in the world of our faith. We have no charm for anything in this mundane world. Let us go with peace. We are members of the peaceful world. Let us enjoy that peace which is independent of material acquisition. So we can agree that there is no charm here that shall make us hesitate to withdraw from this world. But we must also disagree and say that our life in this world is valuable. Why? With this life, we can acquire a higher aspiration. We can have the chance of acquiring the goal from this plane. This human life is so valuable that with it we can take the path of the highest divine conception. This human body is highly valued and rarely achieved. Therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated, Labdva sudurlabhamidam bahusam bhavante Manushya martadam anityam apiha dira Turnam yateta napated anumrityu yavat Nishreyasaya vishaya kalu sarvatasyat. Gurudev preached with this verse very often. The meaning is, from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the human form of life is very rarely attained. And although it is temporary, it gives us a chance to achieve the supreme goal of life.
I can do it behind the curtain.
Now I'm going to end now.
Okay.
Yeah. Therefore, those who are grave and intelligent should immediately strive for perfection before another death occurs. There are so many forms of life: aquatics, vegetable kingdom, animals, birds, ghosts, other living beings, but only in this human position do we hold the key to the complete solution of the problems of life. If we can use this human life in a valuable way, we can acquire the key by which to become free from the whole chain of life in this troublesome world. We can get rid of the bondage of all sorts of physical and mental troubles. The key is here, in this human form of life. And Jiva Goswami says that lower life forms have insufficient understanding to realize the highest truth. So, and in the higher life forms, such as demigods, because previously acquired energy or karma has accumulated on all sides, the enjoying elements are surrounding the living being. So it is difficult to escape the charm of those influences and begin the prospect of a fresh life in a higher plane of consciousness. This human form of life is the most advantageous position to escape this entanglement and reach the highest object of our divine life. And people sometimes ask, why did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu choose to give the highest conception of divine love, Krishna Prema, to the lowest class of people, to the people of Kali Yuga? But that is the very nature of Sri Chaitanya Avatar. Why did the gopis, who are considered to be in the most exalted devotees, come from a neglected social position? What is the meaning of the highest conception of magnanimity? What should be its nature? To help the most needy. And because this is the end now, I'm ending here. And because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes from the highest position, he cannot give ordinary things. And his attention must be drawn to the most needy. Is it unnatural? The highest magnanimity must take notice of the lowest and the most needy. And if he wants to help them, he will do so with his own coin. He cannot distribute to them only glass or stone chips. When he has the opulence of jewels and gems, why should he search for stone chips to distribute to the lowest level? He must extend to the lowest and the poorest people what he thinks to be the real wealth. So we should all fall at the feet of the great Messiah, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. His devotees, they say, if we had to conceive of a place where Gauranga had not appeared, we could never maintain our lives. We shudder to think of living without such a magnanimous friend of Sri Gauranga. How could one live his life without Gauranga? It is impossible. The world is not worth living in without Gauranga. Sri Gauranga is most magnanimous. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, the Panchatattva, have come to raise all souls from their fallen condition. Generally, only deserving persons can gain entrance into Vrindavan, into Krishna Leela. But as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, has come down to cure the offenders of their offenses and grant them entrance into Vrindavan. Simply by chanting the names of the Panchatattva, by remembering their Leela, we can be purified even from the lowest position and prepare for participation in Vrindavan Leela. Gaur Premanandi. It's not the end, but I'm ending. I just want to go on and on. But we should worship their Lordship, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhudevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I'll complete this on another evening. It's very short. And then we'll continue with our Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Thank you for attending.